Welcome back to the Casual GM podcast. I am your host, Drew, and I am joined always with my co-host, Mike. Mike, how are you?
Just as handsome as ever, Drew. How about yourself?
I'm good. There's a lot of fun stuff going on in life right now. It's busy. There's things are happening. I'm not spending a ton of money, which is always great. So
Yeah, that's always good.
pretty thrilled. So what about you?
Summer's here. It's finally nice out. Had a good Father's Day on Sunday. Went out and played golf. Played like garbage though. So while the golf performance was terrible, it was good to be out there with my dad and brother, my son. So overall it was a good day.
Well, I find that the first couple rounds of the year usually are warm up rounds. So
yeah, it was embarrassingly bad. I try to not let it affect me because I'm not a pro, right? I don't expect myself to be shooting even par or under par, but making just actual contact with the ball in just a reasonable manner doesn't seem like it should be too much to ask. And that was a rough ask on Sunday.
So I haven't played golf since before the pandemic. So
yeah,
every time I go back out, I always I'm like, okay, get your stance, get your grip. Don't look up when you swing.
Just keep your head down, arm straight.
Yeah. Just the fundamentals. And most of the time I'm there to have a beer and talk to my friends or whatever, so.
Yeah, that's what I'll be doing tomorrow. There's a vendor outing and I took a vacation day. I'm going to play some golf on somebody else's dime.
There you go. It's the best way to do it.
Yeah, my favorite golf is free golf.
Yeah, it's hard.
Then I don't care if I play bad. I didn't waste any money, right?
Yeah. And the thing
What's up, Funky?
It's hardly free any longer.
This is true.
9 holes with a cart, $1,000. So
yeah, feels like it. But it was good. It was good. And there's still really nothing going on in the world in the NFL. It's kind of in the dead zone, right?
No, Dalvin Cook did get released. So that's one less Minnesota Viking that we have to worry about. And it sounds as though the Vikings have had discussions about potentially trading their best pass rusher, Danielle Hunter. So if that were to come up prior to the season or before the trade deadline, so that good. It sounds like they're actively trying to turn their roster over to what this new GM and their front office want the roster to look like. So plus they brought in Brian Flores to be their new DC, and he's probably just like, yeah, we could let Danielle Hunter go. That's fine. I'm not in love with him or whatever. So
yeah,
so that's just.
I don't mind our opponents actively getting worse.
Yeah, and it's not like drastic or anything, but so many times in the lifespan of a Detroit Lions fan, the difference has been, the bounce of a ball left or right, or, someone, I don't know, just little tiny margins, right? And so
Calvin Johnson rule.
Right, exactly. Oh, God.
Yeah. I'm sorry for everybody. I know it's still too soon. It's been nearly a decade-ish. And it's still too soon.
I remember that, too, because it was like 3 plays in a row. You know, and then it was like, oh, no, that last one, that doesn't count. So,
yeah. And that would have been to win the game in week 1 to get it was like a 20. Well, it ended up being a 24-game road streak that they ended up going, but it was like 17 at the time.
Yeah.
And it could have ended that. It was just, it was a really rough way to, because I want to say that was week 1.
It was hard. Whatever it was heartbreaking.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking. Yes.
Yeah.
Such is the life of a Detroit Lions fan.
Exactly. Let me see. Other news and notes from around the NFL. DeAndre Hopkins is visiting Tennessee, visiting New England. Dalvin Cook said that he'd love to team up with DeAndre Hopkins wherever he ends up.
He just wants a team.
Yeah.
Both of those guys. That's the thing that's really amazing to me right now is you've got Ezekiel Elliott, without a team, Dalvin Cook without a team, D-Hop without a team. And I think as much as those players think they have leverage and they do in a lot of situations, a lot of times they could just go and it doesn't matter, and people are just not picking them up.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. Yeah, you're right. It is kind of a quieter time in the NFL right now. I mean, we're wrapping up like mandatory mini camps and things of that nature, and there's not a lot to come out. Thank God no one's been hurt so far. From the Lions camp side of things, the notes that I've heard of is that Tracy Walker's been completely cleared to return to on-field activities. He's over the Achilles injury. So there's probably a plan for him, but I would guess that he's probably a week 1 starter at this point.
Yep.
Aleem McNeil is said to be looking great. Fantastic. It's always a good, and of course this is the kind of thing that you would expect. So this is he's going into his 3rd year, right? He was in the Penny Sewell class. So year 1, everything's trying to slow down for these guys. Year 2, let's see what happens. Are you going to make a jump? Is there going to be a sophomore slump? Whatever. And then year 3, like, okay, what kind of you've been in the NFL long enough, you're not a rookie anymore. Like, what kind of career do you want to have? And so it looks like he's, pot committed. He's all in. So hopefully we'll see a lot of good things out of him. There's been a Levi Onwuzurike signing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, most that he's done, they've said, in over a year, so he's getting into shape. We're gonna see, at least that's making progress. What else? They've had nothing but great things to say about Jahmyr Gibbs, and it sounds like they are throwing Jack Campbell. Like, you ever seen those videos of like little kids with their like swimming wings on or whatever,
right?
And some adult just picks them up and chucks them into the deep end. Like, that's Jack Campbell right now. I mean, like. I don't know.
If you're taking 18th overall,
right?
You need to swim, buddy. Right?
Yeah. I don't know that I would love Kelvin Shepherd to be my position coach. You want to hear about Green? Green who? Oh, the wide receiver.
Oh, the wide receiver. Yeah.
From UNC. He's live.
He's live. He's on the field.
He's a Lion.
My guess is he probably has a higher chance to make the team than Tom Kennedy. So there's that.
Oh, I'll take that bet. I will take that bet.
Really?
You
think Kennedy is going to make it?
So here's my thinking. Like, okay, so the saving grace for Green, in my opinion, is that Cephas and Berryhill were cut because of the gambling things.
Right.
And that opened up 2 spots in the position group. That's the only reason I think that he could make the team.
So I think his ticket to the team is potential, right? They kind of know what they already have with Tom Kennedy. Mm-hmm. He's solid. He's a chain mover. He's not explosive. He's not a superstar by any means, but he's consistent. They know what they've got with him.
Yeah.
I think with Green, there's the potential, right? There's potential to be much more than what Kennedy is. I think they kind of already see and they know what Kennedy's ceiling's like. And I think because of that, depending on how many reps he gets in, preseason, minicamp, all that kind of stuff, they may end up going with a guy like Green instead. He's a rookie. He has potentially, a higher ceiling. They don't really know yet. So I think that's his saving grace, is the unknown. But it'll be interesting. One of the things, and I think they've already come out and said that they weren't interested, but I found it really interesting, very cool, that the NFL has decided that they wanted Detroit to come back for an encore on Hard Knocks, partially because the teams that were qualified for Hard Knocks this year decided they didn't really want to do it. So they're like, oh shit, now we got to change the rules, because there are rules about you couldn't have been on it in the last 10 years. You can't have a first-year head coach, and you couldn't have made the playoffs. I think those were the 3 main rules, I think, the previous year. So last year, Campbell wasn't a rookie head coach. It was his second year. We definitely didn't make the playoffs. We'd never been on Hard Knocks. That was perfect storm. This year, I believe there were 4 teams that kind of fit that description, and they all said, we'll pass. So the NFL, I believe, is still kind of figuring out, well, what do we do now? And they came to talk to Detroit about doing an encore. I don't know if it's official they passed on that opportunity or if it's still a potential, but I would love to see a part 2. Like, I dig that stuff in general. I'm a guy that watches the director's commentary on movies when I can and just kind of know all the ins and outs, like behind the scenes stuff. So I would love to see us with a encore opportunity. But what are your thoughts on that? Is that a distraction? Is it
no? They
just
should
an opportunity.
Yeah, they should 100% do it every time they're asked, and it should be like, this is how the meeting should go. HBO sits down with you, and they're like, "Hey, we'd like to offer you Hard." Okay, that's how it should go, because Detroit is a mid-market team. You just do not have the kind of media market that something like a team based in Los Angeles, a team based in New York, Chicago even has, because of just things like population density, and so you're being offered a national platform that can get, who knows, like some kid from Iowa, some kid from Mississippi, Seattle, who knows where, to fall in love with the Detroit Lions and give you more opportunities to brand. I would be all about this. And like, you've done it once, you know what to expect. You could even go in and be like, hey, 4 teams just passed. Like, we're willing to do this. We want narrative control over what kind of story you're telling. Yeah. We don't want you to frame any of our guys in a negative light. We don't want you to talk about JMO's incident.
Right.
We'll help you out, but like we need some amount of say in what the end product's going to be. Yeah. Like, but other than that, like, there must be things about Hard Knocks that NFL teams do not want. Otherwise, people would be jumping at these opportunities, right? But
I think it's just the actual behind the scenes. Like, I don't want to see how, the coaches are yelling at players or when people screw up. I think nobody likes the behind the scenes being put out, because that's allowing 31 opponents to get more information on them in one way or another, whether it's a thought process, whether it's a scheme thing. Like, I think it's probably something similar to that, but I don't know. Like, to your point, it seems more upside than downside.
Yeah. If it was something like, we want to have a camera in the draft room and have, like, we're pointing it at your big board, or if it was like, okay, the players are, in your players meetings or whatever, we're going to have a camera over their shoulder at your playbook. Like, that could never be allowed to air, right? I agree with that. Like, the X's and O's of your operation. Sure. If there's you got to remember, like, if I am the Packers and I sign a dude that was with the Lions last year, like, let's say they cut Stanley Berryhill.
Yeah.
Or
Romeo, one of the Aquara brothers.
Who knows? It might be. And you bring them in, I would ask them every fucking question about the coaches, the organization, how they do stuff from a player's perspective, and give that over to my NFL scouts.
I'm assuming that happens, right?
But like, I would think that is such a larger source of information than it would be like watching what you and I watch on Hard Knocks.
Yeah. Well, and even on Hard Knocks, when they got, and as weird as it sounds, one of my favorite parts was when they were getting to that cut time, right? On cut day, and they're trying to figure out who they want to keep and who they don't. And I thought it was really great, just the way that they had those conversations with the players when they actually said you didn't make the team or you did make the team. As someone who leads teams, it's really great to watch kind of how other professions, how they handle those conversations. But they had that board, right? They had the giant board with all the players. They were but that was all blurred out. So I think they would do a pretty solid job of continuing that aspect.
If I was the Detroit Lions, being a mid-market team, I would take every opportunity to increase the brand that the Detroit Lions have. I would do every single thing I possibly could to make the Detroit Lions seem like a place that people want to watch, people want to buy our stuff, People want to follow our team. Players want to come here.
I'll say free agent acquisition and
expose everybody that can watch Hard Knocks to who the Detroit Lions are now. I would do it.
And we have so much momentum from last year's Hard Knocks to the last 10 games of last year, just missing out, getting flexed into an evening, a bunch of primetime games and stuff this year. I would ride that momentum so hard.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, have you seen whether we've officially declined that or
I think
not?
I don't. All I saw was that they were approached by it, and like,
yeah.
To me, if you don't see something that's like, yeah, they're going to do it, then I assume that they're not interested. So like,
man,
the thing that I don't understand is the NFL is all about branding. The NFL is all about wanting their product on as many screens on as many days as they possibly can. I cannot believe the NFL isn't going to somebody like Chicago or Arizona or Detroit and being like, it's your turn.
Yeah. Arizona
Thanks.
was the in-season one last year, which I didn't actually end up watching. I need to do that before.
Yeah, because it's Arizona and who gives a fuck? But like, I mean, like
that's the Lions for 57 years though, or something, right?
So, right. Not anymore. So I mean,
right.
like, but that's exactly it. Like, I mean, you're either bad and you're bad for, it doesn't matter. As long as you're bad, you're just bad.
Right.
And no one cares about you anymore. And like, I don't hear nearly as much Patriots hate anymore now that they're a below 500 ball club and don't have Tom Brady on it, So like, success breeds enemies.
As a Red Wings fan and making the playoffs for 25 straight years, there was a lot of Red Wings hate.
Yeah.
With can't somebody else? I mean, they won 4 Stanley Cups. They were in the finals 2 other times, so 6 times from 1995 to 2009. So in 14 years, they were in the finals 6 of those, almost half the time. That's ridiculous. I mean, granted, they only won 4, but they were in the finals almost every other year on average for 14 years.
Yeah, that's great.
A lot of people hate that. We've been really, really bad the last several years, and you just don't see as much about that anymore. Pining for the glory days.
Right, exactly. So like, I don't care what the opportunity is, as long as it casts Detroit in a non-terrible light.
Yeah.
If I was Ron Wood, the president, I would be like, "Yep, we're in. Let's sign the contract." So anyways, Mike, to start, we're going to talk a little bit today about no, not today.
Okay.
Maybe when they do it. But but I was listening to a podcast from The Athletic, and the topic of their podcast was, are teams actually trying to win the Super Bowl? And then if so, who is trying to win the Super Bowl? So like Arizona this year, not trying, right? Houston, probably not trying to win the Super Bowl, I would imagine. Just not good enough, wanting to do other things to eventually be able to compete to win the Super Bowl. So like Houston, getting CJ Stroud, get his legs under him, trying to build that team with a clear vision, moving forward, that kind of stuff. So we're going into year 3 of Campbell and Holmes. Are Detroit Lions trying to win the Super Bowl, Mike?
Absolutely. And I think that the term trying is a little misleading, right?
Yeah. So like, I'm not asking if like, hey, we're going to go out on Sunday and give it our all. And like, we're going to be okay with the result because of our heart and intangibles and nonsense. Are Detroit Lions trying to win the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I think they are. I think every team tries to win the Super Bowl. I think there are a small handful of teams that has a realistic expectation that they could win the Super Bowl, right? I think the Lions feel. Yeah, I think the Lions feel that they are in that handful, and their window is. I think they believe that their window is open right now, and the Super Bowl is a very real possibility this year.
Okay.
The Bears, I don't think they think it's a very real possibility. The Texans, no. Are they trying? Yeah. I mean, they're not going to not try. Everybody out there is, going to do what they can to win. But I think the expectation around them, the reasonable expectation is, y'all aren't making the playoffs. Like, you can't make the playoffs, you can't win the Super Bowl. So let's just get better, right? That their expectation is improvement, not Super Bowl. Our expectation, I believe, is Super Bowl. And I haven't seen a comment in there about Super Bowl or bust. So what the heck? But yeah, I think that's what we're doing.
Yeah,
I know. I was like, where's Mark?
I think everyone's just like on. Kids just got out of school. Everyone's on vacation. Yeah. We're not seeing this. We'll see them again when the season starts up.
Yeah,
but
Super Bowl or bust.
Should the Lions be trying to win the Super Bowl now?
I believe so. I think we are at the point of our roster construction that our baseline level of talent is high enough where the Super Bowl is a very real possibility. Once you get in the playoffs, anything can happen. And especially if you get into the playoffs fairly easily, then I think you're obviously more likely to have anything happen. And I think we're a playoff team. I think if any team that is an expected playoff team, not a hopeful playoff team. Last year, we were maybe a hopeful playoff team, right?
Sure.
This year, we're expected to. And I think if you're an expected playoff team, you believe that you can and should be able to win the Super Bowl. Some of it may be a luck thing. Some of it may be a matchup thing. But I do believe that I think we have the opportunity to win the Super Bowl this year. A lot of things have to go our way, right? And sometimes it may be like, man, if we would have just played the Cowboys instead of Philadelphia in the second round or the first round, maybe it may be matchup dependent. But I think we have an opportunity to do it.
Okay.
Health being a big deal.
Well, right. Yeah, I would imagine that is going to play a massive role in whether or not
any team, let alone us.
Yeah, to be honest, I think that we've seen even the Chiefs have, call it, moderate injuries on their roster and not win with Patrick Mahomes, right? So I mean, like, a couple of years ago, both their tackles were hurt going into the Super Bowl. I think this is 3 years ago. So I guess I want to talk about what Funky just said too. I'll finish this thought first, though. And I think it's, if you're healthy at the right time, you have an enormous advantage on how far you can go if you can win the in the playoffs. But also a team like the Eagles last year against the Chiefs had almost no injuries from what I remember. I don't know their roster like I do the Lions or what have you, but it wasn't like, we're missing AJ Brown,
right?
And we're not missing Darius Slay. If only they had played, that kind of thing. Like the Niners go into the NFC Championship game and they play 3 quarterbacks and they have to bring in Brock Purdy, who has a UCL injury.
He was their 4th string quarterback to begin with.
Yeah. So I mean, crazy stuff. But so if you are thinking you're a legit playoff team, the Super Bowl should be the goal. The only thing I really have to say about this line of thought is I feel like it's a matter of perspective, right? So I think that where you and I and Funky would come from is a fan's perspective, right? Where it's I agree with what he said. If you constantly say you constantly have this line that you love to say called, if you make the playoffs, anything can happen, right?
Yep.
That's true.
Just ask Eli Manning.
You can't you can't win Super Bowl if you don't make the playoffs. No one's ever done it. So
it's true.
Now I would say, if you want to backtrack 5 years and the Fords, William and Martha, I think it is.
William Clay and Martha. Yep.
Is it Martha Ford?
Yep.
If they're still running the team, I don't know that they cared about what the record was, making the playoffs, that kind of stuff. I always felt like their opinion was, this is a bottom line. This is a line item on our balance sheet.
Yeah.
And if that is making us money, we're good. So
I think it's easy to feel that way because we were bad and they made few changes. Right.
There's a lack of investment.
We were never like, at the salary floor or anything like that. We always spent a lot of money, but I think historically William Clay Ford was too loyal. And when it came to the GMs and whatnot, he just, you know what? I think you can fix it. You're my friend. I don't want to hurt your feelings by firing you. I think you can fix it. I'm going to give you more chance. I'm going to give you another chance. So I think there was a lot of that, and that looks like apathy. When we're doing really bad and you don't make changes, it can definitely look like apathy. Now, the real question is, if they just cared about the bottom line, doesn't winning the Super Bowl make you a hell of a lot more money than being a 5-11 team or 5-12 team every year? Absolutely. If their goal was to just make money, you get good. That's how you make more money. So I don't think it was a apathy type of thing. I think it was a competence thing.
So to me, like the comment that you just made about like, well, they spent money. Well, they had Stafford, Calvin Johnson, and Ndamukong Suh as top 2 picks or higher in like a 5-year time span or 4-year time span. And that was before this CBA. So they had massive contracts because the team was bad, So
even before that, like between Barry and Stafford, those 2 stars, like they still spent money. They were still one of the higher spending teams in the league. They were just bad. They made bad choices in management. They made bad choices in the draft. They made bad choices in coaches. I don't think they weren't trying to win. I think they were just bad at trying to win.
Okay.
I know it's not a popular opinion because people are like, oh, the Fords just don't care. They just care about the bottom line. I'm like, if all they cared about the bottom line was they would try to win more because that's how you make money. So I think it's when you can't say one and have it not be the other. So I just think they're just bad at it. And I think Sheila Ford Hamp is like, you know what? This is how you build a team.
Yeah, I'm better at this than
you guys.
Right. So I would certainly agree that I feel that there's more competent people in control of the organization now than there was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
But like to Funky's point, like whether it was apathy, whether it was incompetence or any other combination of factors, like if you're rich as sports owners are, and you don't want to win, if you're not willing to do what it takes to win, then you should sell your team for however many billions of dollars you can get for it and do something else. But no one will do that because you can borrow against the team and it's $1 billion in equity, it's multiple billions of dollars in equity. But like, I don't understand that. Like, and so like, I mean, one thing that I don't know that we've really ever dedicated a topic of a show to is there are very few teams in any sport that win titles with bottom half of the league salary spending. Like you're not going to be the Florida Marlins who spend the absolute minimum on their roster every year and win the World Series on anything but a fluke, right? So
yep.
So like if you want to win, I think you have to spend, and like that's the part. Now I know that I argue for value quite a bit, and I'm against bad contracts. I am not anti-spending. Like, I don't want them to be
Right.
15 million under the cap for the sake of being $15 million under the cap, unless there's a plan for it. So, and we don't know the plan, but if you're not going to spend, if you're not going to find those little bits of value and make your team the best that it can be, like, I don't know what you're doing. And so I think that the Lions are in a position to challenge, to start to be like, okay, we're going to be in the mix here. Like, we're going to be in the mix for the playoffs. You have to take us seriously if you're going to think about coming on the road in the playoffs to Ford Field. And then it's like you need to win 3 games in a row to get the Super Bowl. And I just don't think we're going to do that with Goff, but like the rest of the roster, I think is right there.
So this is something that we talked about at one point, Drew, doing a kind of an episode on. I think this is a perfect time to actually talk about it. Let me get this banner out of the way, though. The NFLPA put out a survey that looked at, I thought it said 8, but I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I thought it was 8, but maybe it's just 7 different categories of team life. The treatment of the families, the nutrition programs, the weight room, strength staff, all that kind of stuff.
I was looking at the Cardinals here, and it's FFFABF.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but look at the Lions. B, D minus, B plus, A minus, D plus, B plus, B. And if we go into the actual 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, there were 8. I thought so. We were the 15th overall graded team, which is awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, but like you would think, as bad as we've been for so many years, that we would be bottom of the barrel. But I think just what we've done over the last few years with Sheila Ford Hamp at the helm, we are doing much better. We travel well. The locker room is good. Training staff is good. The training room itself apparently is not that good. Our strength coaches, weight room, food service, and nutrition. Now, some of these, like the food service and nutrition, I believe is talking about the food that's available in their training room or in their practice facilities and that kind of stuff.
Hang on one second.
Yeah,
I heard that Arizona is the only team in the league that deducts the cost of the food from their players' bi-weekly game checks.
It was either Arizona or Washington.
I think it was Arizona.
I mean, that would explain why.
Yeah,
this treatment of families F.
Right.
Surprisingly, the Bengals also had an F. The Rams, which one was it? Training room. The Rams and the Chargers had low grades for those two, partially because they had this beautiful new stadium, right? Facilities was one of the things that they talked about. They had this gorgeous new stadium, but their practice facility is apparently like 40 minutes away, and it's like a community college football stadium or something like that they use. So I think they're in the midst of building a new practice facility closer to LA. But I was excited to see the Lions. It's weird. I'm excited to see us right in the middle of the pack and not looking at something like this, where you've got 5 of the 7 listed here as Fs. That's just absurd. Like, I cannot imagine being like, who would want to go to a team where they're going to treat your families bad? They're not going to feed you well. Their weight room sucks, so you're probably going to get injured more often. I don't understand why you would do that, right?
So I don't either. But where you said like you're thrilled that you see the Lions like ranked 15th or what have you.
Yeah,
it's my greatest fear. I would rather be really bad or really good. The thing that I don't want is to be mediocre. And I know that sounds weird.
Well, so I think for me, the reason what I mean by that is, yeah, I agree. I don't ever want to be really bad. I only want to be really good,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But I think we're in transition from being what Arizona currently is listed as, and we're in transition on the way up. And you're going to be to go from 30th to first or second or whatever. At some point, you're going to be 15th, and I think we're now, granted, I don't know any of the other ones, so I'm making an assumption here, just based on what I've seen with the rest of the Lions over the last couple of years and the way Sheila Ford Hamp has run the team and built the team and the management structure. I feel like it had to have been really shitty before. We are now in the stages of, hey, we were 15th out of 32. We weren't the worst, woot, and we're on our way up, is what my hope is. So I'll be really curious to see if they release this next year and seeing where we're at.
Well, if I was Sheila Ford Hamp, I would take a look at that report card right there, and I would say, all right, we're going to invest, I don't know, $500,000 in the two categories that we got D's in. Let's go.
So food service. The players don't feel that there's a lot of food options available. But all three meals are provided, so there's that. And there may be a cafeteria size problem.
Yeah. Well, 60 dudes at their size, I mean, takes up some space.
True.
Let's accommodate that, shall we?
Yeah. Weight room B+, tied for 13th. And we could use some more space. Otherwise, pretty good. Strength coaches, they love the strength coaches. 83% of players believe they receive an individual plan, which seems like a high number, but it's tied for 27th, so that's interesting.
Well, I mean, like everybody on your game day roster should have an individual physical development plan. There's no reason not to.
Yeah, so we were 17th, even though it's an A-, so that's interesting. Our training room, 80% feel they have enough ATCs, assistant training coaches or something, maybe. 64% they have enough physical therapists. So those are bad numbers. I'm assuming 78, 80% are fairly low, and they should be higher. Training staff is pretty good. I believe the training staff moderately adds their individual success. Most teams rated their training staffs positively, which is why we're tied for 22nd, but still received a good grade. Tied for 14th there. Locker room was rated slightly above average. Not much to complain about, but nothing to brag about either. Travel. They're not forced to have roommates. A lot of first-class seats made available to players. Yeah. So anyway, I think this is, as we're kind of talk about like what are we trying? I think this kind of shows that with the assumption of we were bad before and now we're mediocre, I think this shows that we're probably on our way up and trying to improve all aspects of the team.
Well, that's great.
Do we want to transition over to the 2025 cap commitments and kind of talk about that? We talked about next year's cap last week, so check that episode out. And then this week, we want to talk a little bit about 2025, 2026.
Yeah. So 2025 is the first big off season for this new regime, in my opinion. So like they did a really nice job this last off season, had a good draft, really good free agency period. But now it's time. 2025 offseason is going to be the time of choices. Like now you need to. I think that's going to be the next big litmus test for this front office. Like, are we just all in on the guys that we currently have, which is my greatest fear, or is there room for change? What is that? How are we going to commit to getting better, even if those are hard choices? So out of this class, I think Penei Sewell, Aleem McNeil, Amon-Ra St. Brown are locks for second contracts if they had to do it today. And unless one of them gets hurt or falls off the face of the earth somehow, flat earth theory, then I think they're all definitive locks. Now, I think of those three guys, McNeil's deal is going to be the smallest, even though defensive tackles are starting to rise as the becoming a position of value. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown, if he has one more season like the ones that he's already had, 1,000 yards, 100 catches, 6-7 touchdowns. I think that I don't know that you cannot give him a contract on par with other top 10 wide receivers in the NFL. I don't.
So you're looking at 25 to 30 mil.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think, yeah. I mean, I think it'll be somewhere between 20 and 25 a year. I would not be surprised to see something like 3 years, 65, 4 years, 81, something like that. Always wondered.
So Funky, I think she goes by that. I mean, she's referenced that way in throughout media, and I believe even like Dan Campbell when he actually says something other than Sheila, he doesn't say Sheila Hamp. He says Sheila Ford Hamp.
I thought I read something this offseason that she dropped the Ford.
Oh, did she? Okay.
So it's like she's officially going by Sheila Hamp.
Okay, but that hasn't always been the case, though, right?
No.
Okay,
so that was a change. Maybe does anyone heard about if she's going through a divorce? I mean, I believe that she is a Hamp first and a Ford second.
Well, as long as she stays running the team, I think she's been doing a great job.
Yeah, that's the thing I really care about too.
Yeah.
So she's referred to that way. She actually has told people she doesn't. Okay.
Interesting.
Her name, that's fine with me. Keep making good choices. So,
right.
And then I think the one that's going to be the absolute top of the market is Penei Sewell. Like, this will be the end. 2025 offseason will be the end of his 4th season in the NFL. I don't think there's any reason. I think it's, if you're going to get cute in today's NFL with a top of the market player and be like, oh no, we're going to pick up his option and he's going to play on it. Cool. You just made it more expensive the next year for you to sign him. So, like, I think that he's going to get 25 plus a year.
Yeah. So for all the people that are like, oh, you can give a guy like Goff $40 million because the cap's going up $25 million. We're also going to go from paying a guy like Sewell $7 million, $7.5 million to 25. Like, he's eating the bonus money from the cap, right? So it's not like we just magically get $50 million that isn't gonna that could all go to Goff and everything's gonna be fine. That's not the way that's gonna work. We're gonna have some guys that are gonna be earning some big paychecks. Sewell is gonna get paid far more than he is now. Amon-Ra St. Brown's gonna get paid far more than he is right now. Unless you don't want those guys. Instead, you want to keep a guy like Goff at 40 or 45 million. Opportunity cost.
Right.
Right, Joey?
Joey pops in, says one thing, and now he's gone. So,
yeah.
So I mean, and that's okay. So that's my big fear about this group is, like, anytime that I see somebody that's like, so the answer with you guys is just going off the status quo of the media. That's fine. Just wonder why I hear it so much from the people that talk. Oh, okay. Yeah. In regards to Sheila. Yeah. I don't care about the name at all. I don't. Her name could be Ursula Twist or whatever. I
just go by, to your point, I go by whatever I've read in the media.
Right.
So
exactly.
if they just start referring to her as Sheila Hamp, I'll just start doing that. If I just go, hey, Sheila says this, people are like, who's Sheila? Do you know Sheila? No, I don't. So that's why I do it.
Yeah, we get together for tea every other week. So next time we sit down over a nice hot cup of tea,
and scones.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'll ask her. I'm like, Sheila, I'm hearing things. What dish, girl? Give me this hot, the hot gossip. So I wish I did hang out with her once every other week. I think that'd be awesome. But like getting back to the off season here, like Sewell, McNeil, and Amon-Ra St. Brown are going to be 3 significant investments. If you that's why I gotta believe that like we for as much support in the media, as much support publicly as the Lions have said about Jared Goff, the one thing that I can say definitively is that they have not signed a contract extension. They have not said in the media that we've sat down and begun contract extension talks. None of
they did mention that there were conversations, but that
Sure.
just doesn't mean anything, right?
The conversation could have been, "Hey, we'll sit down and talk to you about it at some point in the future. Let's get
Right.
ready for the season," you know. But like, you know, and that's what I hope that it is, because I don't. Deisner? Who's Deisner? I think that's the money guy.
Deisner.
I don't know who Deisner is, but if he's the money guy, I'll talk to him too. I mean, the cap guy, or like the guy that's like, we're gonna invest money into the facility and the training weight room and stuff like that.
Oh, balls! You can't see the.
No, I cannot.
Not shared properly. All right, hold on. I'm gonna stop sharing and I'll reshare.
There we go. The mystery of guys.
I did find it. Bam. Mike Deisner. He's the chief operating officer.
Ah. Wow, look at Funky. He just knows these people off the top of his head, man.
So yeah, that'd be awesome to talk to him about like how that works and the business administration side, business management side, strategy and revenue. Yeah. I'd be down for a conversation with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. D, if you're watching, email us.
That would be
casualgmpodcast@gmail.com. Say that you want to come on.
If we're on his radar, he is watching every podcast about the Detroit Lions that is on the internet.
Regardless of quality.
Pretty much. So, you know, to me, you know, we've been saying this for a while now, is that like, if you're going to invest in Goff, like where's the
who don't you
who don't you commit to? Is it Ali McNeil?
Is it Decker?
You know, like, yeah, I mean, like, you have to make up the difference somewhere. Everybody's only allowed to spend so much, right? Like, the cap does have accounting trickery that you can do with it. You know, the New Orleans Saints and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have proven that. But do you want to be one of those teams?
Well, even the Rams did that, and then they had to shed half of their starting quality players, and they're going to start something like 24 rookies this next year to field the squad.
It's really crazy. But yeah, exactly. Like the choice to make it, and we just talked about spending, right? Like you have to make a decision on spending. Who's this? Is this Decker?
This is Taylor Decker.
Yeah.
So I mean, is this a guy that you're going to be like, well, we'll cut you and save $10 million so we can keep Goff? I wouldn't. I think he's probably a steal at this point. You're not going to replace him for anything cheaper, at least not at his quality.
So I don't know that I'd cut him. Would I trade him? Maybe. If you're going to break even, that's about as break even as you're going to get right there on a contract if you trade a guy. At the end of
what would you trade him for? Like a 2? A 3?
Well, I think that he's a start. I think he's an above average left tackle in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
He has had, I wouldn't say major, but minor injuries throughout his career. He's had injuries that have caused him to miss time. I don't know that he's a Pro Bowler. No. I don't give a shit about being a Pro Bowler. Other people care, right?
Yeah.
So, like, that's why I say that.
Contract clauses care.
Right. Contract clauses care. This is his second contract. You know, I think that he's probably good enough to warrant a third contract. So if you were a team that was like, this last offseason, if you were somebody like the Kansas City Chiefs and you're like, we're going to have turnover at our tackle position. Hey, we'll give you a 2 and a 4 for Eric Decker and just take his contract onto our books.
Taylor.
What'd I say? Eric?
Eric, yeah.
Huh,
Again, every time.
I can never. The Rams playing St. Louis. Eric Decker's the Detroit Lions left tackle. I cannot figure it out. But I still say the Phoenix Cardinals too. So like, if somebody like that was coming up and saying, "Hey, we'll give you a 2 and a 4 or a conditional 1," something like that for Taylor Decker, I think you have to have a real conversation about it, because if you don't do that, you're basically committing to letting him walk for nothing, in which case you're hoping for the best you can do as a 3rd round pick, as a compensation pick, and those guys just don't usually make the free agency market. So the only other option,
he's probably going to get paid pretty well.
Yeah, he would. So like, that's also my argument for Jonah Jackson. Like, if you let Jonah Jackson walk after this upcoming season, 2024 offseason, he probably goes into the market as the top or second best guard on the market. And somebody could sign him for somewhere between, I don't know, 12 and 15 million a year. And then you can just start a 3rd round pick.
And that's that's another opportunity cost with Goff's contract, right?
Oh, Joey, you said it.
I know. I did that just for Joey, even though that probably isn't technically an opportunity cost situation. Yeah. But it is one of those things where it's eating up the cap, right? He's getting paid $3 million this year. And if we re-sign him to, it doesn't have to be market setting, but just what he's worth, probably 12 million, 14 million. We'll say it's $13,255,141, and it's $10 million more than he's making now. Well, if the cap goes up by 25, well, he's eating 10 of it. Right? Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to eat, God, what is he at right now?
$1 million.
Yeah, I got to scroll, don't I? So he's sitting there at $1.25 million. He's going to get a $23 million raise. He'll probably be close to 25, maybe more, depending on what his season looks like. So just between those two, that's $35 million more than what we're paying right now, all other things being equal, which they won't be equal.
Right.
Because we're going to also have to figure out Hutchinson
and
Sewell, right? So for the people that think that, the cap's going to go up by, $18 million next year and $20 million the year after that, that doesn't matter. That's already being eaten up by those players.
Yeah. So, I mean, my big fear about this organization is they're just going to pay everybody. And like, Goff's going to get an extension. You're going to re-sign Jonah Jackson this offseason. Penny, Amon-Ra, Aleem, they're all going to get second contracts. Aiden will probably get the bag when he's up. That kind of stuff. And eventually, like 2020, whatever it's going to be, 2026, 27, what are you going to do with Sam Laporta and Jahmyr Gibbs and Jack Campbell? Because, like, that's the Saquon Barkley argument, right? So I don't think if you're going to have a healthy cap, you can't pay everybody. Yep. That's why positions of value matter. Right. You have to make decisions. So, like, to me, the best thing for me would be we go into the season after this, Hendon Hooker gets a year, Goff's off the roster. You can then re-sign Jonah Jackson. You then have room for Penny's extension, Amon-Ra's extension, McNeil's extension, or some of them. And then your actual cap increase matters because you're getting 39 million back, or you're getting 30 million back. If you're
able to keep guys.
Right. Like, just imagine this. If you got rid of Jared Goff and people are like, don't do that. But like, if you just paid Jared Goff what Hendon Hooker is going to be making next year, you could sign Aleem McNeil and Amon-Ra St. Brown and not blink at it, because that's the difference.
Yeah.
And then, you have to sign Penny, but you get the other two for free for what you were paying last year. So what what is the problem? I mean, like, you want to talk about $40 million paying Jared Goff. I mean, you could re-sign Jonah Jackson and Amon-Ra St. Brown, and that's going to be right near 40.
Yeah. And the other thing to think about on that is Goff's cap is 32 right now. So he would not only be eating up, fighting for that extra cap space with Amon-Ra, Penei Sewell, and Jonah Jackson, he's also trying to take an additional $8 or $10 million of that cap space as well.
Right.
So it's not like we're trying to sign him to the exact same salary as he's making now, and the extra just goes to the other guys. He wants a piece of that. He's going to want a piece of that.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, like the problem, I mean, like right now is all fun and games because all these guys are on rookie deals. The team's getting better. It looks like you're probably going to win the division and therefore make the playoffs. You might get your first playoff win in 30 years, 31 years, whatever the case might be. But then, like, the next year is okay. We got a lot of decisions to make.
Yeah.
What's the future of this team look like? Because it's not easy.
Yeah, it'll be a challenge. I think it might be interesting to put together an Excel spreadsheet type of thing of like, all right, taking some of this information that's on Over the Cap with where we're at now, what the extended cap is going to look like for, say, 2 years from now, but also adding in the expected or anticipated contracts for Sewell and Jonah Jackson and Amon-Ra St. Brown, and looking at what's left. We'll have rookie classes we'll have to sign as well.
It's a big challenge. So it's hard to predict how the markets will move in a year ahead of time. So, but we can give it a shot because there's nothing else to do right now.
Yeah, so, hopefully in a month or two we'll be able to start talking about the Hard Knocks Part 2 of the Lions. Gosh,
yeah, there you go.
Great.
So next, Thursday of this week is the NBA draft. So we might do a little quick Pistons review, and then the following week is the NHL draft, and the Red Wings have 5 picks in the first, at least the first 2 rounds. I don't know how many rounds the NHL draft is.
It used to be 11.
It's a lot.
Can you imagine? There's 20 roster spots, and they receive 11 rounds of picks.
It's amazing. I imagine that's a lot of like stashing people like overseas or on.
Yeah, that's one of the interesting things about the NHL compared to the NFL is the NHL actually has a farm system like baseball, both in the States and out, right? So you've got your major juniors, you've got your like Grand Rapids Griffins, so you got that kind of minor league. You got your major juniors where some of those guys keep playing. You've got your Swedish elite league, so you got some stuff overseas. So you have like high-end feeder farm system types of things. The NFL doesn't have that, where you can draft a person and go, you know what, you're definitely not ready for us yet, but maybe in a year or two you can. So go here instead. You either make the team or you don't in the NFL.
Right.
So that's something that the NHL has available to it. I would love to see that I know the XFL is supposed to be competing with the NFL. It should be a farm system. There should be 32 XFL teams, and it should be a farm system. And now you've got something like that's where Tom Kennedy can play, right? And that's where you get those guys in there and you play all year long. You're not going to be making NFL bucks, but the Grand Rapids Griffins players aren't making Detroit Red Wings dollars either. But they're getting reps against like quality individuals, opponents. I don't know. I would love to see that and have those games on, I don't know, Wednesdays or something like that. Since the NFL doesn't play on Wednesdays, the NFL plays on Thursdays. High school football plays on Fridays. College football plays on Saturdays. NFL on Sundays and Mondays.
Thursdays.
and Thursday. So like Tuesdays and Wednesdays. That should be
There you
the
go.
feeder league.
We figured it out.
I know. So that'd be fun though.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we did it, Mike.
We did.
Another successful podcast. Oh, hang on. I was going to say it's pronounced Dissner. Oh, okay. Funky says
Dissner. Okay.
Thank you. We will amend our ways. So
that would be cool to get someone like Mike Dissner on. He seems like somebody that would be interesting to talk to when it comes to the things we care about.
Yeah, 100%. So, we can always reach out. I mean, that's how we got Eric Eager to come onto the show. I was shocked when he said, yeah, he'd be willing to talk Lions and restore the roar. And I was like, oh, okay. Thanks, man.
So sweet. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
We'll take up some questions. So, yeah, I have not been that nervous in a long time. So, and that was a year ago. So,
yeah, that was good. So if you're just tuning in, if you're one of the subscribers over the last 45 weeks or so after the PFF episode, you should check that out. I want to say it's episode 11, 12, 13th-ish. But that was a good one.
That was a good
one. All right, dude. Let's get out of here. We'll see everybody next Saturday at 7.
Next Tuesday.
Did I say I said Saturday, didn't I?
You did.
Just kidding. If you come on Saturday, we won't be here live anyway.
Hatter's House joined us right at the end. Nice.
So next Tuesday at 7. Comment, subscribe to the channel. That'd be awesome. We're at 78 right now. We're trying to make a push for 100. Throw a comment in about what we should do for our 100th when we hit that 100 subscriber. Do I need to get a hat? I don't know. We'll figure something out. Questions can go to casualgmpodcast@gmail.com, or you can add us at casualgm1 on Twitter. And we're going to be working on kind of the rebranding over the next probably over the summer here, and trying to get that squared away with a Discord and building the Pride as the brand there. So that's what we got.
All right.
Peace out, guys.
Bye, Mike.